Hello, welcome students of Sri Gayatri. So we are going through a quick revision of zoology in some of the topics. And today's topic that is Dattatreya, zoology faculty, going to discuss about organisms and population. So in ecology, we have organisms and population, ecosystem, environmental issues, and biodiversity. And here in organisms and population, I will briefly discuss three basic aspects. Then rest of the things, because you have to go through the book, it is a memory-based topic. Right. Now, so in organisms and population, actual point what we are going to discuss is the ecosystem includes an interaction of organisms and its surroundings. So that is biotic and abiotic components together interact to form a ecosystem. So ecosystem consists of both abiotic and biotic components. The biotic components means producers, consumers, decomposers, etc. So these biotic components as well as functional aspects of ecosystem that we'll study in another chapter called ecosystem. Here we are going to discuss about some aspects of abiotic components. Abiotic means it includes physical and chemical components. So light, water, temperature, soil, all these things are physical. Acidity, alkalinity, pH of water and soil, these are all the things which come under chemical components of ecosystem. Ecosystem means an interaction between both biotic and abiotic. So these two things act like a unit that constitutes an ecosystem. Right. Now, various here, if you take entire Earth, so the Earth is divided into major subdivisions called ecosystems, biomes. Then biomes include a large number of landscapes. Landscape is a group of ecosystems. Ecosystem is biotic and abiotic, which includes biotic and abiotic, right? Now, what is the basis on which the Earth is divided into major biomes? One is availability of sunlight. Most, you can say sunlight, temperature, water, all the things. But two key concepts is what is the annual rainfall or precipitation. Precipitation means, you may say, in some places like Arctic and Alpine tundras, what is the rainfall? Formation of snow. So that is also a kind of precipitation. Now, let us see this. So you once see this graph. On x-axis, mean annual precipitation is taken. From this book, you should be able to make a way of highlighting the things. Right. So worldwide, what is the highest in rainfall? You observe here, tropical rainforest has the highest rainfall. That is in between 400. So if you add these two things, it will be between 400 and 450. That is the annual rainfall. And second, what is the next one in rainfall? Coniferous forest and coniferous forest, as well as then comes temperate forest. We are talking about the major biomes. Highest rainfall, tropical rainforest. Second is coniferous. Then third one is temperate. Then next comes grasslands and lowest rainfall desert. Precipitation is also less in Arctic and Alpine. It shows variation, a little variation in the amount of precipitation. But you take these terrestrial things and try to remember them in descending order. So that is one important point we discussed, rainfall. So the annual precipitation is very less in the case of desert. So little bit higher. Next, coming to, you see, what about temperature? Temperature, if you say average temperature itself is 20, minimum 20, around 20 is there for tropical forest. So right, then next temperature, grassland and desert we observe, because we cannot simply arrange them based on temperature. But what is the speciality of each biome that we see? Desert highest temperature and lowest rainfall. Grassland is also temperature higher, but range is much greater than the desert. See, minimum and maximum, that range is more for that. Sometimes the temperatures in grasslands may be exceeding even the desert average. Here the values are average. In a particular summer, the peak may be sometimes seen in desert, but that is not only the criteria. Now, next is, you see, coniferous forest going to much low temperatures than the temperate. Temperate forest will have low temperatures than tropical forest. So these are some special characters of these. So in the same way, it can be also represented like this. Desert, grassland, Arctic and Alpine. Tundras means what? Totally frozen and treeless regions. Then coniferous forest, temperate forest, then tropical forest. Then here grasslands means like pampas, prairies, savannas. These are all examples of the grassland biomes in the world. Some like savannas we can see in tropical countries also. We say mostly countries like India, major part is tropical forest, but we should not misunderstand that, because India is not only showing lot of diversity in culture, but ecologically also it is showing lot of diversity. There are many biomes that can be seen. Tropical rainforest, deciduous forest. In Rajasthan we have desert, sea coast, and even not only this, we have alpine conditions like situations seen in some Himalayan regions, permafrost region, hot sulfur springs are there. Like that, each condition or biome will have one specialty. And you can see coral reefs are also there in India. Mangroves are there. Ecosystems and biomes, lot of variation there across India. But one thing is, abiotic factors, light, temperature, water, most important. Now, so here the light and temperature, you know, availability of light is a key point for existence of all this life on this earth, because light is essential for photosynthesis in plants, which is responsible for all other organisms' existence. Now, availability of light is deciding the type of populations existing. So, abiotic factors, I am not going to discuss much on this, because there are few things that you may miss There are many things, memorable things here, memorizing things are there that you have to go through the book, right? So let us just quickly say, so light is very important, photosynthesis, essential for vision, behavior. So these are all influenced by light. So light influences vision in organisms, behavior in organisms, and uh, photosynthesis, metabolism, because organisms living in burrows, they have less metabolic rates. And then biological rhythms, all the biological rhythms are maintained mostly because of clues you are getting from the light. And why in great depths not much producers are found, or which type of algae can be seen in greatest depth. So red algae which can use blue light. Blue light is a wavelength greatly available in greatest depth. So that's why that variety of algae are found. Now, second thing is those which cannot use or they don't get any light, they also sometimes show emission of light by themselves. That is called bioluminescence. Then second one, coming to temperature. So if you take the concept of temperature, we have terms like homeotherms. So what are homeotherms and poikilotherms? Second thing, what are eurytherms and stenotherms? Those which maintain constant body temperature. So constant body temperature, they can be called homeotherms or endotherms, internally regulated. Then what are poikilotherms? Poikilotherms means with the variable temperatures, they don't have constant, so they can also be called ectotherms. Eurytherms, what are eurytherms? Those which tolerate much fluctuations in temperature. So you know, stenotherms, majority of the animals, or you can say 99% of organisms are stenotherms, because they cannot maintain constant temperature, or they cannot tolerate extreme fluctuations. Or you can also use another term, conformers and regulators. Conformers or regulators is a term used not only with reference to temperature but also osmoregulation. Those which maintain are called regulators, which cannot maintain are called conformers, right? But it can be related to thermo or osmo, both the things. So like that, let us go to regulate adaptations at different point. I'm just saying, so temperature influences metabolic rates. So size of the body and temperature explained by Bergman's rule. In colder areas, animals are larger. In warmer areas, small. So that in cold areas, they lose less heat. Then another rule called Allen's rule. So these are the important rules. One is Bergman's rule and Allen's rule. So Bergman's rule is related to effect of temperature on size, and Allen's rule is related to effect of temperature on extremities like pinna. So extremities are larger in warm areas, smaller in colder areas. So that is about two important rules. And related to metabolism and effective temperature, it was explained by another rule called Van 't Hoff's rule. So Van 't Hoff's rule explains that for every 10 degrees centigrade, metabolic rates are double. So these are the three important principles related to temperature and various effects. Coming to water, you know that Earth 71% is covered with oceans or water. You can say in water 97% is marine and only 3% is fresh water. Now water is very important, but terrestrial animal success depends on how they effectively conserve water. But only few can tolerate fluctuations in salinity. So from this point of view, and here we have to remember, if less than 3 parts, if it is less than 5 parts per thousand, we can call it a concentration is fresh water. Then if it is 30 parts per up to 30, then marine water. It shows lot of variation, then you call it brackish water, right? So in these, organisms can also be differentiated as euryhaline, second one stenohaline. So what are euryhaline, what are stenohaline? Those which tolerate the fluctuations in salinity are called euryhaline. Those which cannot tolerate much fluctuations are stenohaline. So all fishes living in brackish water, and migratory fishes, means some fishes migrate from seawater to freshwater, others from freshwater to seawater, they are all called migratory. So that is euryhaline. They have to be euryhaline, otherwise they will die, migratory fishes. And brackish water fishes also same thing. If a fish is living only in fresh water, you call it stenohaline. Only marine water, then also stenohaline, right? So for conserving water, they have to show different adaptations. Adaptations present in marine is different from freshwater, because marine forms, they need to conserve water like terrestrial forms, whereas freshwater forms will be they have to see that salts are not allowed to be lost to the environment. Salts are not lost. So they have to prevent endosmosis of water and loss of salts, right? Then coming to this biomes point we have discussed. Now some adaptations we discussed. Here, if you observe these two things, that is conformers and regulators. External conditions, here what is taken on the x-axis, external conditions. What is taken on y-axis, internal. If external conditions are changing, internal conditions are also changing, conformers. So remember, 99% of organisms are conformers, and only few organisms are regulators. Why? Regulation is metabolically expensive. You have to spend a lot of energy to maintain. For example, birds and mammals, they are regulators. Few organisms like camel will be partial regulators. They appear to be conformers, but they don't conform completely, and they will be also acting as regulator. So basically camels are regulators. So various adaptations, some organisms escape. So for example, migration, you can call it escape in time. When unfavorable conditions are localized to to a particular time, then conditions will be favorable. Then they will start moving to other areas. After conditions return to normalcy, they come back here. So that is migration. So this migration point like thing, we can call it escape in time. So it can be called escape in time, right? So it is described as escape in time. So migration is one adaptation. Second thing is hibernation or estivation. Hibernation or estivation, what are these two things? Summer sleep, a phase of inactivation. So you can call these two as escape in time. This is escape in space. Moving from one place to another place is escaping in place. Hibernation, they are not moving to anywhere. During winter, some animals show hibernation like bears and others. And during summer, they go to a sleep-like condition that is called estivation. So these are various adaptations, right? Third one is diapause. Suddenly they stop developing. Arresting at one stage. You call it a diapause. These are some adaptations. Then there are different adaptations. There is no limit for this adaptation because there can be, for example, physiological adaptations. For example, mammals start showing sweating, temperature is high, shivering when temperature is low. Then there is a presence of adipose tissue, that is anatomical adaptation. Deeply sunken stomata are present in desert plants. You remember, all plants are conformers. Regulators means it can be higher vertebrates, lower vertebrates. Some lower invertebrates are also regulators, but most of them are conformers. Then anatomical like a deep sunken stomata, adipose tissue, these are feathers and all other things. So physiological, anatomical, some organisms even show behavioral adaptation. For example, lizards. Lizards are best example. They are basking in the sun during daytime in winter season and hiding in the shade during summer, during daytime. Like that, there is some difference between diapause and conditions like hibernation and estivation. So suspended activity during unfavorable conditions is diapause, and process of spending winter extreme cold conditions and dormant. So it is dormant condition. Dormant condition is hibernation. Means stopping development. In particular, development is affected. That is in the case of diapause, right? So these are you have to study in detail about various adaptations and so various adaptations and abiotic factors.